get the recording going. Let me screen share this one. This is on the wrong thing. All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Vinny D'Amato. I am chair of the BU Senate. Today is April 26, 2021, and this is Senate 23, the final meeting of the 2021, sorry, did I get 2020-2021 academic school year. So as always, we're going to start off with roll call. So for our final question this week, we're going to have, if you could travel back in time to any year, where would you go and why? So to answer this question, we'll have Savannah Majarwitz, Achilles Stone, Vivian Dye, and William Harrison. So starting off, Savannah Majarwitz.
Here, and I think I would want to go back to Egypt in like the mid 1400s to see like the ruler or the pharaoh Hatshepsut, just because I did a lot of like history on her in high school, and I was just really like fascinated with her death and like the drama surrounding that.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. Ivan Teplensky.
Present.
Achilles Stone.
I didn't think about this, but now I'm like, okay, 1998, as long as like I revert back to the age that I would be, which is not born yet, because no thoughts, no exams. I'm very tired. So
No exams. No exams. We support no exams. Bella Noel.
Present.
Roof Kapadia.
Here.
Hassan Farouki.
Present.
Janez James.
Present.
Jessica Zhang.
Present.
Spencer Kwan. Spencer Kwan. Lauren Hagee. Lauren Hagee. Navia Kuturu.
Present.
Shahaf Dan.
Present.
Sui Moowo.
Present.
Vivian Dye.
Present. And to answer the question, far be it from me to remember specific dates, but my last MFA project for core was on Etruscan sarcophagi. So I would like to go back in time to go to an Etruscan funerary banquet, because even though Etruscan society, which was like basically the predecessor to like the Romans on like the Italian peninsula, even though they were kind of classist and not great to poor people, at least they had some sort of like gender parity, so it wouldn't suck if you were like a woman as long as you were rich.
Cool. I've never heard about that before. All right. Moving on to the next one. Sum Yu Guan.
here.
Brandon Yu.
Present.
Richard Siegelman.
Present.
William Harrison.
Present, and I would go back to the late 60s for all the music.
Late 60s music. That's good. You got a favorite?
Probably like Leonard Skinner and Led Zeppelin and all them.
Ooh, okay, go to a couple concerts. Oh, that'd be amazing. Amanda Schneider.
Present.
Olivia Herr.
Present.
Sophie Jin.
Present.
Owen Kelly.
Present.
Maha Noor.
Present.
Shireen Bakray. She texted me. Cassie Balboa.
Present.
Joanna Shie.
Present.
Proxy for Noah Greif.
Present.
And that's Amy Luo, correct?
Yes.
Amy Luo.
Present.
Proxy for Michael Leone.
Present.
And that's you, Joanna?
That's correct.
Jaylene Ramirez. Jaylene Ramirez. Selena Chen.
Present.
Natalie Kesley-Wall.
Here.
Jay Hao Jin.
Present.
Brianna Cole. Brianna Cole.
Here, sorry.
Mehar Hora.
Here.
John Michael Aracena.
Here.
Isabella Townsend.
Present.
Samantha Casas.
Present.
Celine Machin.
Here.
Shayna Evans.
Here.
Healy Massini.
Here.
And last but not least, Juliana Torres. I see your name, but I don't hear you. Are you here?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Excuse me. I can hear you now. All right. So with that, we are missing 1, 2. That's 4 that we're missing. So that puts us at 38 votes on the day, which is 26 for a super and 20 for a simple. All right. So just an update for you all that I just got a message from. Apparently Dina is going to be rescinding her nomination for Feast Committee Chair. So we're just going to skip over for her. So that means Hope and Savannah, you guys are just going to start off with our first 2 5-minute blocks. All right. Going over the agenda for today, the big one. We got a president's address, followed by the Senate committee confirmations, followed by the cabinet confirmations, then the judicial confirmations. Then we have Senate Resolution 20, condemnation of Google, which is ironic because I'm using Google Chrome. Senate Resolution 21, resource guide endorsement. Senate Resolution 004 update. MHC warning on syllabi initiative. MHC trigger warning on syllabi initiative, excuse me. Closing remarks by yours truly, and then open forum. Mr. President, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Last Senate. This is wild. I first want to give a quick update. We had our end of year celebration this past Thursday. It was great. Got to see some of you in person, got to see some of you virtually. Every single person here, along with anybody in student government, has gotten their own student government award. NIO will be sending out an email rather shortly about when any of us will be in the office for you to pick it up. If you're not on campus this semester, no worries. We can ship it over to you through SAO. So just she'll include a form with that. We also have a bunch of your sweaters there too. So please come grab them. And yeah, I just want to spend the next minute or two saying thank you. Thank you to each of you for your time here in Senate. It's been a year, a full year of each of you showing up on Zoom every single Monday. And that's something I appreciate. It takes a lot of energy and engagement to come here at 8 o'clock and be able to, not argue, but discuss the ways we can impact the entire BU community. So thank you very much. I genuinely appreciate it. It's been a pleasure working with each of you. I'm not graduating, so you won't see, this is not the end of me, but I'll still be on BU's campus, would still love to grab coffee, any of you and all of you once we get back to normal here. But also one last thank you to Vinny and Shashi. They've been putting in the work the entire year, and I do give them a lot of credit for the hard work that both of them have put in. Vinny has been an incredible person here in student government, someone super impactful, and Shashi, it's his first year in Senate, and clearly not his last. He's going to be an absolutely incredible Senate chair next year. So once again, thank you, everyone, and I will take any questions you might have. All right, Vinny, back to you. Oh, Evan, what's going on?
I have one. I just was curious, what are you, because it's different, you're a junior, so like, what are you most looking for the next e-board? Now
Yeah,
that
I think,
yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I'm very excited that I'll be able to watch the next e-board and the next, group of student government come in next year, and I'll be able to like be that student who complains to them. Because I will be. I think one thing that I hope to see is each of them not only grow themselves, but be able to grow the entire university and take us, constantly in the right direction. Fight the fight that all four of them, along with their chief of staffs and anybody who's involved in student government, you're given a seat at the table. So make your voice heard, and that's the goal. And I hope, and I know that each of them are very well equipped leaders in order to do so. I've been able to work with Naya for the last 2 years in CGS and in BU student government, and I've been able to see Hassan, Amy, and Shakhaf absolutely kill it in their own roles. So I have full confidence that they're going to do an incredible job and lots of great work. And I absolutely encourage each person here, whether you're going to be in Senate or another position, or you're graduating, or you're still going to just be in Boston University, to reach out to them because they have a lot of impact to make and a lot of impact that they will make. So I'm super excited. Thank you for that question, Evan.
Any other questions? Going once. Going twice. All right. Thank you, Oliver, and thank you, e-board, for everything that you've done for us this year. All right. Senate Committee Chair confirmation. So like I said, Dina is not going to be going up anymore, so we're just going to skip over her. Hope and Savannah, you two are going to have the floor first. Hope, just because you're on here first, you're going to go first, so you'll have your 5 minutes. And then once you're done, Savannah, you will have your 5 minutes. That will be followed by a 10-minute Q&A, at which point I will open the floor to any motions. So, Ms. Way, whenever you are ready, the floor is yours.
Hi, I am Hope Way. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a bio CMG major with a minor in philosophy, and I'm originally from Brookline, Massachusetts. I've gotten confirmed just a couple weeks back, but just a quick refresher for everyone. I've been involved in MHC since my freshman year because I'm very passionate about mental health. I grew up in a household where one of my parents suffered from a mental illness, and I've watched them struggle as I've grown up. Prior to my mom's diagnosis, I didn't really understand what it was since it was very stigmatized in general, especially in the Asian community. And at BU, I really want to create a space where I can educate people as well as start a dialogue between student, faculty, and staff surrounding health, mental illness, and the stigma surrounding both of those topics. And this begins with events like the mental health fair, as well as other things we're working on, including a comprehensive resource guide, MHC's website, blog posts, and much, much more. I think Savannah will touch upon some of these similar topics. And right now, one of the projects I'm heading up is a comprehensive resource guide for BU resources both on and off campus. We are aiming to create a guide on how to navigate student health services, as well as navigate it with different depending on your issue, whether you're like an international student, whether you have no insurance, whether you have different types of insurance. We're hoping we can create a place where you can kind of like choose your own adventure style and figure out what type of resources you need. And this will also, of course, include general resources like national helplines and general Boston resources. And it's going to be a more holistic guide that includes like things like Spotify playlists, fun games and apps you can play with your friends that can help with de-stressing and much more. And we're aiming to finish this project in time for the fall, hopefully in time to release for the freshmen and transfer students. Additionally, we are hoping to continue with our blog posts, and we're encouraging all of our MHC members to write a blog post either about their own mental health experience or advice about dealing with school life and stuff, because we want to humanize the issue and put real faces behind the struggle. And lastly, I want to do like a similar event to the one we've had this past Friday and this coming Friday, where we are in Marsh Plaza tabling, where we poll students for their honest opinion on Postnits, and we kind of gauge how the students are feeling, as well as if there are any gaps that we can fulfill. And this also ties into creating the mental health fair in the fall, where we will be hoping to educate a lot of students on resources. And yeah, I guess that concludes why I want to be co-chair.
Thank you. Senator Majorowicz, you're up.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Savannah. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a junior studying international relations and minoring in Holocaust, genocide, and human rights studies and Persian cultural studies. I've been involved in the mental health committee since my freshman year, and this is my second year serving as co-chair. I really love this committee, and I feel like I've grown up with it kind of in my time as a BU student, and I'm just really extremely like grateful to Hope's work and all the new members who have joined like the second semester, like the second part of the semester, because we've really just been able to kind of pick things up, and the ideas that people have and like the energy surrounding this work is just really exciting. So what we're going to accomplish like in the summer in the future, not to be redundant, but it's just all around exciting, and it makes me really like happy for what this committee continues to grow into as. You know, like mental health advocacy is really important to me. It's part of who I am. I struggle with mental illness. A lot of my friends struggle with mental illness. I've lost people to mental illness. And I think kind of in my like journey and just kind of growth in the specific topic is realizing that, you know, one resource that works for someone does not necessarily always work for another person. And I think that's where, you know, our goal as a committee has really been trying to center this idea that a variety of resources exists out there. And we really want students to know that they have options at the end of the day, and that they can come to us and, you know, ask us questions where to, you know, find things, how to get things. And, you know, hopefully we'll have that information on hand ready to send them. And if not, we will get them get them that information in a timely manner. Just making sure that like students know that they can come to us and we can provide them in the right direction. You know, as like Hope mentioned, that resource guide is like a great example of how we're going to try to make sure that that's like a permanent resource that students can access, that will update it. Same thing with our website. You know, insurance was mentioned. We also want to include, you know, resources that are free for students to access. Not everyone has a different circumstance, and we want to make sure like the resources that we offer are accessible to students, like to any student. And, you know, aligned with our mental health fair, as Hope mentioned, that's kind of like the goal we have is showing like BU organizations, whether it's student and departments, but national groups and local groups within the Boston area is critical. That's like the physical manifestation of just some of the resources that would be on the guide. And like something that we do want to like implement within the mental health fair is having a open response box or like a suggestion box for students to give their direct feedback, because that helps us to and just growing like the initiatives and ideas that we can approach behavioral medicine or wellness prevention with. And it provides us like that hard data to refer back to and saying like students want this is an issue, this is a gap. And like overall, we're just really excited to start planning for that in person, especially because we couldn't do it in person this past year. So it's just something that I'm looking forward to personally. And then kind of another idea that we want to tackle is the issue of eating disorder resources or just eating resources in general. Like during the summer and doing research on this. Currently at BU, the only eating resources that are offered to students are like counseling at behavioral medicine or through the Sergeant Choice Nutrition Center. We want to just make this a more prominent informational and service center at BU where it's its own department. Again, this needs more research and reflection on it, but this is kind of one of our ideas to have that exist on its own, where it would offer information on different types, you know, again, not to be redundant, of eating disorders, but also talk about like topics related to it, like body dysmorphia, body image, fat phobia, and really just make the community aware that these are issues in society that a lot of people face, and just, again, like awareness, resources, and making sure the community knows like there is help on this specific issue, because it does affect a lot of students, regardless if it you're struggling with something specific or just in general. I think that would be a huge advantage to the community. Yeah, overall, mental health is something I'm really passionate about. I could go on and on and on, but I will end it there. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you both for that. Now, before I move into Q&A, Senator Ramirez, you are here. You are having technology issues, I believe, correct? But you are here now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that brings us up to 39 on the day, which doesn't change the vote at all. It's still 30, it's still 26-20. All right. Now going to open it up to a 10-minute Q&A session. So if any of you have any questions for our nominees here, raise your hand and I'll call on you. Senator Toplinski.
Ooh, my computer is going a little slow. I apologize. Hope, I am so excited to meet you in person next year. Savannah, you know I love you from the bottom of my heart. You are the first person I talked about my mental health with when I came here. So my question is a little complex. What is something that, Savannah, that if you told me about you, I wouldn't believe you?
There's a lot of ways I could answer this question. Okay.
Hit
I
the
literally don't know how to answer that because there's so many ways I could take it, but I'll probably go with I was on a bowling league when I was 10 years old. I don't know if that was good enough, but that's all I
That
got.
was
That is
amazing.
amazing. That
Thank
is so
you.
cool. Any additional questions for our two nominees here? Going once. Going twice. All right, and with that, I'm going to elapse Q&A time and open the floor to any points or motions. Senator Dye.
Motion to move into voting procedure for the confirmation of the unit. Oh, okay.
In the future, please wait for the motion to be fully said before we second. So,
Sorry, I thought she finished it.
it's all right. So the motion is to confirm both people for, or both candidates for chair or co-chair? Right, Vivian?
Yes.
Just to make sure for, okay, awesome. All right, you all know the drill. Raise your hands in the chat if you're wishing to vote in the affirmative, looking for a supermajority vote here. Mr. Vice Chair, do you confirm a supermajority?
I confirm a supermajority.
All right, with that, I'm going to lower everyone's hands. And again, open the floor to any points of motion. Senator, oh, no, okay. Senator Toplinski.
Motion to vote on the mental health committee co-chairs.
Second.
All right, so the motion is to vote on the committee co-chair candidates. Please raise your hands in the chat and you wish to vote in the affirmative, looking for a simple majority vote. Mr. Vice Chair, do you confirm a simple majority?
Yes, I do.
The person whose name is MJ, is that MJ Atang?
Yes.
Okay, so only senators are allowed to vote for this. Also, guys, don't worry, that
Yeah,
vote
I'm
wouldn't-
sorry.
It's all right. So just for everyone here, I'm going through and checking it anyways, just to make sure that we have, yeah, so only senators are allowed to vote for the motions, but don't worry about it. It's all right. All right, so Mr. Vice Chair, you confirm simple majority?
Yes, I do.
All right, so with that, I'm going to lower everyone's hands. We're now going to vote on the two candidates. Mr. Vice Chair, if you can put the voting forms into the Slack. And then anyone who is having issues with Slack or does not have access to that, please private message me and I will send it to you.
The form for Hope is in the Slack right now. The form for Savannah is going in the Slack.
Okay. Joanna, for your question, for senators who are proxying other senators, do your vote on the form and then send me the vote for your proxy. And then also senators proxying other senators, please make sure to message me both of your motion votes without raising your hand for the future.
Both of the voting forms are in the Slack, by the way.
And I'll give it a minute and a half from now. Thirty seconds. Five seconds. All right, with that, I'm going to close both voting forms. And with 33 votes in the, no, sorry, 34 votes in the affirmative for both candidates, congratulations, Senator Majarowicz and Ms. Way, you are confirmed as co-chairs for MHC. All right, now moving on to the 16,000 strong committee co-chair confirmations. So Ms. Main and Ms. Atang, you'll each have 5 minutes to speak, and then followed by a 10-minute Q&A period afterwards, after which, yeah, I'm not gonna repeat myself again. Ms. May, you are up first.
Hi, my name is Annie Main. I am a soon-to-be junior in comm, studying journalism. I also have a political science minor. 16K was actually the first organization that I joined at, oh, and my pronouns are she, her, sorry. 16K was actually the first organization that I joined at BU in my first 2 weeks here. And my freshman year, I served as the communications chair. And this past year, I had the honor of being the co-chair. The mission of 16,000 Strong is to educate, empower, and unite Boston University against sexual assault, and that is one that is very close to my heart. The work that I do at 16K is the most important part of my experience at Boston University, and I've been really grateful for the opportunity to lead this committee the past year and represent student government while working with a very important issue on campus. So this year, 16K has really been focusing on advocacy and how we can create tangible change for survivors on campus. In collaboration with other groups, including CAS Student Government and the Mental Health Committee, we've created a list of policies that we'd like to see implemented and have been in negotiations with Provost Morrison to get BU to meet these demands. We actually had a meeting with her today. I want to continue on as co-chair so that these conversations can continue seamlessly and that the other relationships MJ and I have established can be maintained effectively. These meetings with Provost Morrison only came after over 100 BU students came forward with their own stories of being a survivor, and hundreds of students and student groups stood in solidarity with them. Sexual assault has always been an issue at BU, but now we're really starting to see the community come together to fight it, and I'm really proud of the broader coalition that's been established. I think that these groups fighting on a coordinated front really helps making ending sexual assault a priority at Boston University. If MJ and I are confirmed again as co-chairs, we will continue to prioritize creating tangible change for survivors on campus and working with the community and the administration to move forward. We are also working to expand 16K's reach as a committee, gaining a few new members this semester and establishing more e-board positions, including an events chair and a recruitment chair to better delegate our workload and to ensure that we are reaching all corners of campus. For Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we've teamed up with SARP, It's On Us, and the CGSA to put on a denim day installation in the GSU that's been there all month. If you're on campus, you should definitely stop by and see it and add a denim square with a message to a survivor. And this Wednesday is denim day, so make sure to wear jeans or any kind of denim to show your support. We're really looking forward to the fall where things should be in person, and hopefully we'll be able to continue on with this important work. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Satang, the floor is yours.
Hi guys, I'm MJ. Thank you so much for having me here today. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a sophomore rising junior studying political science and minoring in business administration. And I'm originally from Laurel, Maryland. I'm passionate about the issue of sexual assault because I know too many people that have had some sort of sexual assault experience, and they oftentimes don't realize what happens to them. They don't know what to do after, or they're too afraid to speak up. My hope is that with education and community efforts, we can make this issue less prominent on our campus, equip people with adequate resources if it unfortunate happens, and create a safer campus for everyone. I joined 16K shortly after Annie, who was my roommate last year, told me about it. And I've had a great time meeting great people and making good change on campus ever since. I spent the last year as co-chair with Annie, and I think that we've made some good change with the protest, working with other campus leaders towards the earlier part of this year. And since then, we've had meetings with the provost, we've been working with SARP, and again, other committees and leaders. This year has been a little bit harder because of COVID. We've had to do things online, and 16K has a lot of, most of our things last year were in-person events, so we've had to adjust, but luckily next year, things will hopefully be they will be in person. Annie and I have been working this year to make 16K structured better. We created subcommittees within that will hopefully allow us to delegate work, and things will work more efficiently. Further, we have our committees we have a PR committee, we have recruitment chair, we have a social chair and policy chair. We hope to use these subcommittee chairs to work with us in creating real change on campus. If confirmed, I will lead the 16K strong members in creating a safer campus community for everyone. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I give my time to the Senate for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Tang. All right, with that, I'm going to open it up to a 10-minute Q&A period. You know the drill. Got a question, raise your hand, I'll call on you. All right. Senator Dye.
Just out of curiosity, are the demands that you're negotiating right now the same demands that were released with the protest started by the USM chapter here, or are they different demands?
I can take that. Yeah, those are the same demands. If you go to the CAS student government website, you can see the most updated list. They've been edited a little bit. So you're probably thinking of the first 5 that a bunch of groups were posting on Instagram, but now it became a list of, I think, 16 demands. And so that's what we've been working on the provost with ever since. So the CAS student government website has that.
Any additional questions for the candidates? Going once, going twice. All right, with that, I'm going to elapse Q&A time and open it up again to any points or motions. Senator Noel.
Motion to move into voting to confirm Annie and MJ as co-chairs.
Second.
All right, so the motion to move into voting procedure, right?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, it's all right. So motions to move into voting procedure, which has been seconded. As always, looking for a supermajority here. Senators, please raise your hands in the chat if you're proxying for another senator. All right, thank you. Mr. Vice Chair, do you confirm a supermajority?
I can confirm a supermajority.
All right, with that, we are in voting procedure. I will lower everyone's hands and again, open the floor to any points or motions. Senator Noel.
Motion to vote to confirm both of them as co-chairs.
Second.
All right, so motion is to confirm our candidates for the 16,000 strong co-chairs or as 16,000 strong co-chairs. Raise your hands in the chat if you wish to vote in the affirmative. Looking for a simple majority here. Mr. Vice Chair, do you confirm a simple majority?
Yes, I do.
All right, so with that, I'm going to lower everyone's hands. Mr. Vice Chair, if you could please send the voting forms in the Slack. Anyone who is having issues with Slack or does not have access to it, please private message me and I will send it over to you.
The first link in the chat that should be there now is the voting form for Annie. The second one that's going in right now is the voting form for MJ.
Give it a minute 15 starting now. Fifteen seconds. All right, and with that, I'm going to close the voting forms. And with 34 votes in the affirmative, congratulations to you both. That's 34 each. You are confirmed as co-chairs. All right, so that wraps up our Senate committee confirmations for today. Moving on now to the cabinet confirmation. So again, we're going to do the same process like I mentioned before. We're just going to do doubles till the end. So first up, we're going to have Sydney Steger. Is that right?
Steger.
Steger, my apologies. Sydney Steger for Academic Affairs, followed by Anna Obergfell for City Affairs. So Ms. Steger, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'll just give a brief introduction. My name is Sydney. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I am a rising junior studying international relations in the Pardee School of Global Studies. And I'm originally from Hooksett, New Hampshire, which is just about an hour north of Boston. So Northeast is my kind of home place. Some relevant experience regarding this position. Outside of student government, I'm highly involved in the Boston University International Affairs Association. I served as a director for their competitive Model UN team, and I'm their incoming secretary. So there's a little bit of just general interaction with the student body, as well as with administration coming from those roles. I'm helping ensure logistics go through. And then within student government over the last year, I was a CS advocacy member where I worked on several initiatives that were going through that program. And then I also served as a proxy senator. So I have been in Senate before, if you recognize me from that. And then finally, I served as a CS liaison in the academic affairs department. So I have been in the department over the last year, working with Arthur and the rest of the team there. Being in this department over the last year has given me a lot of experience working with the administration one-on-one on various initiatives, really trying to practice incorporating general student feedback and student ideas into more tangible initiatives. This is something that I had experienced all the way back from high school, is incorporating more abstract information and ensuring that that can lead to a more efficient and effective student experience. So it's something really important to me. I feel like I also have gained a lot of perspective regarding what makes a successful initiative for the Academic Affairs Department. It's been an incredible year for the department in terms of just volume of initiative, and that's something I really hope to continue into the next year. And then I guess I'll go into just my various kind of goals or initiatives for the department as a whole. I'd like to keep the same structure moving forward. I think the liaison structure was incredibly efficient for narrowing and focusing initiatives, but I would like to expand the number of liaisons. I think that for some students, it was a very hefty workload because of how involved some of these initiatives are. And so I think incorporating more liaisons at those schools which maybe only had 1 or 2 this year, would be an immense help for increasing the efficiency of the department. Just in the last couple of months working with the administration, it seems like there is a lot of room for growth and change and for new projects going forward, especially as we're transitioning away from online school and hopefully back to in-person. I think they want to see a lot of growth as we go out of this really weird phase, because there's so much opportunity for going back to a better normal. And so I'm really hopeful that there will be a continuation of our initiatives, but also a lot of new initiatives, maybe things that we've struggled to kind of forward in the past. And then one kind of new thing I really hope to incorporate is more collaboration and communication with various bodies, specifically within BU, student government, whether that be in Senate, with the other departments, with the individual college governments. I know that there was a bit of an issue this year with redundancies, just because I think a lot of the area or the ground that academic affairs covers is stuff that a lot of different student groups are really interested in tackling because it is so important to student experience. And so something that I'd like to do as the director of this department is really ensure that I am in constant communication with these groups and ensuring that either there's collaboration going on or that there isn't that a kind of dual initiative progress going on, because I know how frustrating that can be just from having been in CS advocacy, for example, and in the academic affairs department. And then I'd also maybe hope to work with an organization like BIG and helping further academic affairs initiatives using the knowledge from other peer institutions. I think that's so essential for moving initiatives forward, especially for administration to see that these are broad movements across peer institutions for BU. And then just to kind of list off some initiatives I'd hope to continue into next year. This includes something like the syllabus archive and the grade transparency reports. But that's kind of all I wanted to present today. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my presentation.
Thank you. All right. Director Bergfeld, you're up next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna. I've been to a few Senate meetings, so I think I know all of you and your faces are familiar to me, and it's nice to see that. Also, I met some of you at the end of year dinner, and that was really great to actually meet you in person. But aside from that, I am a junior rising senior studying political science and French within the College of Arts and Sciences. And I'm originally from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Just some background on me. This past year, I served as the director of city affairs, and other than student government, I'm an RA on campus and also the vice president of Wandering Minds Theater Club. And I would love to have the opportunity to serve as the director for city affairs for another year. I have truly loved serving in this department. And as someone who's not from Boston, I love the goals of this department, which really are to connect BU students with the Boston area around them and Massachusetts around them, because we aren't just residents of BU. We don't just live on campus, but we are a part of Massachusetts and Boston and its thriving community. And I personally just love that goal. And I love being able to connect students with the outside area. And I think I would be really well fit to continue on with this position. First of all, I think as a cabinet director, there is a learning curve to running a department on your own, to hiring staffers, and to learning how to put on projects and work with administration, e-board, and Senate. And so I think that this year I've learned how to do a lot of those things. So next year, if I was director of city affairs, I could hit the ground running, getting a lot of those logistical things already under my belt and just continuing on to projects. Also, I really want to continue the connections that I made this year as director of city affairs. First of all, with my project Vote Big that happened in September, I worked with BU Votes, Boston Intercollegiate Government, and invited local Congress people such as Councillor Campbell, Councillor Anissa Essayabi George, and Representative Madaro, who spoke at our events. And through that event, we got around 300 students at BU registered to vote. And I'm really proud of the connections we made there, and I want to continue working with BU Votes, Boston Intercollegiate Government, and also making those connections with Congress people. I actually served as an intern for Councillor Andrea Campbell last semester because of the connection I made through the Director of City Affairs Department. And so I'm really proud to make sure that our department is connecting with local government officials. Also this year, we've been working with Boston Public School programs. And actually this Friday, we're going to be going into the Excel High School talking to ninth graders about college. And so I'm really proud of the relationships we made there. And my goal for next year is to make sure that BU students will have a solid foundation to work with BPS schools even after I'm gone, so we can continue that relationship and really foster a relationship between BU students and BPS students. And Voter Tuesday, I've also been really proud of that. Our last one's actually coming out tomorrow. It's about voter engagement and how to stay engaged even after the election ends. And that's also something I'm looking forward to continuing if I were to be director again. But now on to new visions and BU platform, BU United platform, because I know you've heard a lot of my old things. So I want to talk about what I'm also looking forward to doing as well. So like I said earlier, I'm really passionate about connecting BU students with the BU community. And one way that I'd like to do that from the BU platform is the monthly Boston Brunch, where we'd be able to purchase gift cards and raffle them off to students to go to local restaurants. And I think it's really important to support local restaurants, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic has been really difficult for them. And that also encourages students to go out into the greater Boston community. I'm also really interested in pursuing a community service day that would occur every month and working with organizations on campus to partner with that. So I also have connections with BU Swipes for Boston and the Omega Phi Alpha Community Service Sorority. And so I'd like to partner with them and other organizations on campus to have community service days outside of BU, where we encourage BU students to get involved with our outside neighborhood. And another thing, which I kind of hinted at before, working with BU Votes is really passionate to me, and making sure that all students are registered to vote. So it's on BU United platform, and also something that my department will take up and be happy to run with. Making sure that students are registered to vote and making that a part of BU's orientation, so that all students who are coming to BU will be registered to vote. So those are the things I'm looking forward to doing in the future, but I'm really excited about continuing the connections that I've already made this semester with BU Votes, with BIG, and with local community government leaders, and also working and spreading out to more BU clubs and organizations next year and partnering with them as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you both for giving those speeches. All right, I'm now going to open up to a 10-minute Q&A session. So if y'all have any questions, please raise your hands and I'll call on you. Senator Toponsky.
Hi, I had a question for Sydney. Hi, Sydney. How you doing? So my question is in regards to a comment you made, which is that a lot of student organizations are working on a lot of projects in regards to academic affairs, and there is a lot of overlap. I've noticed just with myself and other organizations that sometimes there's this dynamic of taking over projects instead of working with. So how do you plan for your position and cabinet? I don't know. I'm a legislative person. How do you plan on having your individuals make sure that they're partnering with and not taking over other clubs and organizations projects?
Yeah, thank you so much for your question, Evan. And I think that's totally a valid concern. Something I am hoping to do specifically with the individual college governments is have sort of the like the CAS liaisons would perhaps be able to go to a CS advocacy meeting. And I think that kind of going to the home turf of the institution that's already working on a project is a good way to make sure that it wouldn't be the academic affairs department taking over, but rather like going to kind of be in a more supportive capacity. Besides that, I think it's just kind of a tonal thing. And so ensuring that, like, I think ensuring communication in a two-way street will really like kind of balance that effort out. I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does. Thank you.
Senator Majorowitz.
Hi, Sydney. I have a question for you specifically. I wanted to know if you'd be interested, or if you already like have this planned, in doing panels with professors. The former academic affairs director, like 2 years back, Aditya Jain, did this, and I found it really effective because I got my job through attending that and like talking to one of the professors on that panel. So I think that would be really useful. But I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
I would absolutely be interested in pursuing something like that. And if you have any more thoughts, like please send them to me. I'm hoping to collaborate with, for example, the events department on something like that. So I would certainly be interested in a professor panel.
Senator Balboa.
I was just wondering what the grade transparency reports are.
Yeah, so that's a initiative that the current academic affairs department director, Arthan, has kind of taken off. It's basically, I believe, kind of in response to the idea of like grade deflation at BU. So it's, I think, a report that is published after the semester detailing the kind of distribution of grades. I think that's piloting this semester after finals, if I'm getting that correct. If I'm not, I'm so sorry. But that's what that initiative is.
Any additional questions for either of the nominees? Going once, going twice. All right, with that, I'm going to elapse Q&A time and open the floor to any points or motions. Senator Noel.
Motion to move into voting procedure to confirm Sydney and Anna.
Second.
All right, so the motion on the floor is to confirm our two nominees, Ms. Steger and Ms. Obergfell, for their directorships. Please raise your hands if you wish to vote in the affirmative to go into voting procedure. Mr. Vice Chair, do you confirm a supermajority?
I confirm a supermajority.
All right, with that, I'm going to lower everyone's hands. We are now in voting procedure. I will again open the floor to any points or motions. Senator Noel.
Motion to vote on the confirmation of Sydney and Anna.
Second.
All right, so the motion on the floor is a motion to vote. Please raise your hands in the chat if you wish to vote in the affirmative, unless you're proxying, but y'all know the drill by this point. Mr. Vice Chair, do you confirm a simple majority?
I confirm a simple majority.
All right, with that, we're now going to vote on the candidates. Mr. Vice Chair, if you could please put the voting forms into the Slack, I will send it to anyone who is having issues with Slack. If you're now having issues, again, please private message me.
Both of the voting forms are in the Slack for everyone now.
All right, I'll give it a minute and a half from here. 15 seconds. Also, please make sure you vote for both forms. I see that some of you only voted for one, but not the other. Please make sure you vote for both. Makes the vote tallying a lot more easier. All right, and with that, I'm going to close both voting forms. And with 35 votes in the affirmative for Ms. Stager and 30 votes in the affirmative for Ms. Obergfell, congratulations to you both. You are confirmed as directors of your respective committees. Moving on to our next two. So we have our current directors of Director Lee for Communications and Director Chinwala for Environmental Affairs. As you guys know, 5 minutes to speak. Director Lee, you are up first.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to once again present in front of you guys. I did so a few weeks ago, but here I am back again. So my name is Ting. I am a rising senior majoring in history and political science. I'm from Boston, and I lead several organizations outside of Boston University, within and outside Boston University, including the Pre-Law Review, Pre-Law Society, and I work as a student researcher for BU Votes, and I was one of the people leading the organizing efforts when we were still in person for our voter registration drives. I have over 7 years of experience working in graphic and website design, and also around the same amount of time working with publicity. So over this past year, one of the things that my department was able to do was do an overhaul of the student government website, making it more streamlined, cleaning up some of the details that became extraneous during the several years that the website was used under previous directors, setting it up so that we can also put forth some initiatives, one of which was the Mental Health Committee blog. It was also a pleasure working with Senate committee members, being able to get these sorts of things out there, getting your initiatives set and ready to go. And that was part of the mission and goal that I had last year that I believe has been successfully worked out by being able to integrate ourselves, talking with each other on various branches, different departments, making sure that we're always in contact with each other, keeping the connections going so that we're highlighting all the initiatives or as many initiatives that we can for each of the branches and all the initiatives that all you guys have. We've also managed to standardize some of our design for the graphics that we got put out. And of course, we also format some ways to allow for organizations and individuals to do takeovers. We found that those were based on our analytic data from our social media stuff, that we found that those are more effective ways to get people engaged with social media takeovers, with these sorts of interactive elements with our stories, and with our posts with such large events such as fundraisers, which we have successfully working alongside the current e-board, gaining around 1,000 more followers, and that sort of thing that we want to continue to promote for next year. And speaking of next year, some of the initiatives that we want to do is have monthly town halls, whether it's on Zoom or in person, depending on the nature of how we're going to approach this. They're going to be a pretty informal setting. We want to make sure that the community can come and be comfortable asking us questions, even if they are hard questions that may or may not be controversial. But our goal, and my goal as the director of communication, is to make sure to facilitate having this kind of dialogue that would, make people feel, their voices being heard, that we're incorporating their ideas, that we're incorporating the suggestions, criticisms, And I think those are very healthy ways to make sure that we are held accountable by constituents and that we are able to hear their voices so that we can better advocate for them when we're taught as student government as a whole. And we want to continue elevating voices, again, through takeovers. We want to highlight various organizations supporting the Boston community. We recently, in partnership with this Department of City Affairs, we did the Austin Crawl social media promotions. We want to do that in a more permanent basis with Boston Brunch Day, where we want to highlight these sorts of, we want to highlight the restaurants in the Boston area so that we're promoting local business and we're supporting the very community that we have situated ourselves in as students of Boston University. And of course, we want to continue to foster the connections that we have. We want to continue talking with the various groups that we work with within BU, and of course, working with various members that serve in student government so that we can ensure that everything is continual and that we are always talking with each other to make sure that my department is putting out all the stuff that needs to be put out, and we're making sure that everyone's voice is being represented. And of course, some of the things we want to do is expand our social media presence and outreach. Some fun stuff like TikTok is on the horizon for us. And we want to do something even more with our professional development with LinkedIn. And with that, that's all I will have to say. And again, thank you very much for this opportunity. And I yield to Neha.
Thank you, Director Lee. Director Chinwala, you are up next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Neha. I'm a current junior studying Earth and Environmental Sciences with minors in Political Science and Environmental Analysis and Policy. I'm from the Chicago area. I use she, her pronouns, and beyond student government, I'm also an intern for BU Sustainability and the social chair for BU Running Club. So if I look any bit familiar to you, it's because I've served as the Director of Environmental Affairs this past year, and I hope to continue the work we started this year, from joining as a general staffer my first semester at BU to serving as a deputy director sophomore year to now leading the department this year. The Department of Environmental Affairs has a special place in my career at BU, and I hope to keep advancing it forward this following year. I know you all have had to hear my updates every once in a while this past year, but here's a bit of a refresher. This past year, I have restructured the department for the first time into committees, which are as follows: events and engagement, science communication, sustainability liaisons, communications liaisons, and environmental justice. We have hosted 4 successful virtual campus study on environmental justice featuring Boston area organizers and policymakers. As a team, we have also created the first Sustainable Business Week, partnering with local sustainable businesses. We have also just had a successful clothing drive where we collected over 400 pounds of donations for Boston homeless shelters and nonprofits, and we destroyed Northeastern's numbers because we were in a competition with them. I also launched a new educational series on Instagram, thanks to Tang's help, called Sustainability Sundays, where we focus on a specific topic each time, from food justice to recycling to making climate change on campus more digestible. Finally, last week for Earth Day, I co-hosted a vegan cooking night with the Feast Committee and moderated the final EJ panel on energy justice. So I've built a lot of connections with other environmental leaders and stakeholders on campus and in Boston. I've worked with them as Director of Environmental Affairs, as an intern with BU Sustainability, and as classmate most of the time. This next year, I've confirmed I hope to build these connections and unite to advance our common goals. I want to work more on initiatives like expanding compost and making the university take a real stance on some major environmental issues. I'd like to work with the environmental and social activist groups across campus in Boston and build more transparency about how sustainable BU really is. I hope to be a voice for sustainability, climate advocacy, and environmental justice, and finish my BU career leading the department I joined as a freshman. Thank you.
Thank you both for your speeches. All right. Open the floor to a 10-minute Q&A. If you guys have any questions, please raise your hands. Senator Topolsky.
Hi, I feel so old. I know everyone in cabinet. I'm like, what is happening? Okay, my question is, since you both have been in this position, I was wondering how you plan to deal with a level of complacency and being happy with what has been done, and more so pushing yourself in order to get through another year.
Ting, I don't know if you want to start or you want me to go.
Actually, yeah, I can start. Yeah, Evan, that is a great question, especially because I think that is very much a legitimate concern regarding people who serve over one term, you know, in these sorts of positions. This is something that I've thought about throughout my entire year serving as director of communications, because I always think that there's always something to be improved upon. While I am happy that we've gotten some pretty big stuff accomplished, I know that there are some stumbles along the way. I know that, you know, even if things seem good, doesn't mean that that's where we should be at. We can do better. And that's exactly what I have done, reflecting upon my position and continually soliciting feedback from people I've worked with, especially during in cabinet meetings, for example. That's when I ask for feedback from people, whether it's stuff that has gone up, has not gone up on social media, whether my communication is efficient enough towards them, whether we are really getting the content up that is what we really need to be putting up. You know, these sorts of things, setting up priorities, those are always questions that I intend on continually focusing on. And that's how that's how I've been approaching my job, and that's how I'm going to continue approaching my job. Because I know that there are things that can be improved upon, even when I think it's going pretty well. And of course, some of this includes, you know, the website, for example. I'm pretty happy with how the website turned out, but I know that there's still a lot of things that still need to be included that could be improved upon, and more things that we can continue integrating into it. And another thing is, while working with other people, of course, there are situations where I felt like I've kind of, maybe lacking in what I've been doing. Maybe I'm not been pushing hard enough. Maybe I'm not been getting stuff up there. And that's something that's my motivation, is to make sure that I'm getting to a point where I'm making sure that even if I'm satisfied, that means there is still something that can still be changed. Because there's always, in terms of advocating for the student body, there is always more to be done.
Okay, I guess I'll hop in. I mean, I think in terms of environmental work, like, there's always more that can be done. And I am freezing, so I'm gonna turn my camera off. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, thanks, Evan. And I feel like the reason why I wanted to continue with this position is because every year at the end of being a part of student government, I always feel like there's unfinished work to do. And especially with COVID, there's a lot of things that I feel like I didn't get to do that I'd like to continue. And I also think bringing in staffers that have never been involved in student government, are not necessarily environmental majors, helps to bring a different perspective to the team and kind of like push me. Because as director, I say this to my staffers all the time, like, I don't want to just do what I want to do as the director. Like, I want to just be the one that's kind of managing everyone. So a lot of times it's like the different committees bringing to me their ideas. Like Sustainable Business Idea Week was not my idea. And then just helping them get it out there. So I think that's how I will continue to grow and hopefully improve.
Any additional questions? Going once, going twice. All right, and with that, I'm gonna and I'm muted. I'm gonna elapse Q&A time and open the floor to any points or motions. Senator Faruqi.
I move to enter voting procedure on the nominees for communications and environmental affairs directors.
Second.
All right, with that, we're looking for a supermajority vote to move into voting procedure on the confirmations of the Director of Communication and Environmental Affairs. All right, Mr. Vice Chair, do you confirm supermajority?
I confirm supermajority.
All right, with that, we are going to now move into voting procedure. I will lower everyone's hands, and again, open the floor to any points or motions. Senator Faruqi? Yes, Senator Faruqi.
I move to vote on the nominees for communications and environmental affairs directors.
Second.
All right, the motion is to vote on our nominees for the directorships that we mentioned previously. I'm going to say all of them. Raise your hands, obviously, you know the drill. So Vice Chair, do you confirm a simple majority?
I have a simple majority.
All right, with that, we're going to vote on the two nominees. Mr. Vice Chair, if you can please put the voting forms in the Slack. Everyone, please make sure you vote for both of them, just please for number's sake. And I'll send the form to anyone who doesn't have access or is having issues with Slack, excuse me.
The links are in the chat. The first one is for communications. The second one is for environmental affairs.
Right, I'm gonna give it a minute from here instead of a minute and a half this time. If there's any issues, please let me know. And with that, I'm going to close the voting forms. Can everyone still hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, my headphones just died apparently. That's unfortunate. So then with 34 votes in the affirmative, congratulations, Director Lee, you are reconfirmed. And with 32 votes, congratulations, Director Chinwala, you are also reconfirmed for your position. Congratulations to you both. All right, moving on to our final three directorships. We have Izzy Watson for events, Angela Chen for recruitment, and Vivian Dye for social advocacy. Izzy, you're up first, and we'll keep going through the order that we've been doing. We're going to do this one a block of three. So Ms. Watson, whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
Sorry, technical difficulties. Okay, hello everyone. I am so happy to be here again. My name is Izzy Watson. My pronouns are she, they. I'm originally from Southbury, Connecticut, and I'm a second-year junior majoring in social studies education in Wheelock and minoring in political science. So in my years at BU so far, I've been involved with the Wandering Minds Theater Group, making my way up to secretary. This year, I've worked as a Boston Community Liaison for the Department of City Affairs, helping to organize the Boston Public Schools College Conversation with Director Bergfell. Outside of BU, I've taught 8th grade civics at Boston Latin Academy as a democracy coach for the nonprofit Generation Citizen. Currently, I'm interning at the Boston Teachers Union, where I help facilitate communication with community leaders and Boston legislators. So I have been event planning since I was 13 years old, from organizing concerts to my church, to coordinating events for my theater group in high school, and then completing my Girl Scout Gold Award in late high school. And currently, as the secretary of Wandering Minds Theater Club, I organize meetings, I promote events, I coordinate outreach to the other BU clubs. And I regularly send out Wandering Minds emails to over 700 people. So I am absolutely not shy when it comes to communication. My current work study position is actually the event planner for the BU Wheelock School of Education. In this position, I manage events for students and faculty. Currently, they're in the form of online webinars because of the COVID-19 pandemic. I also design promotional media. I assist in video and merchandise distribution. So basically, I know how to plan and host an event in compliance with COVID-19 restrictions, which will obviously be crucial in the upcoming semesters. I have tons of connections within Boston University and outside Boston University, and many clubs on campus and outside nonprofits and legislation groups. So as the events director, I plan to have various positions and sub-departments within the events department. In addition to a deputy, I would like to have outreach/community organizers, a treasury department, a tech and photography department, a design and publicity department, and then logistics coordinators to assist with catering, venues, music, things like that. So I want to have at the absolute minimum 10 people on my team, but since events is a huge responsibility, I would welcome more with open arms. And then after more than a year, oh my gosh, of social separation, finally coming back together in the fall will be absolutely more meaningful than ever. So I plan to kick off the year with an event in September focusing on reestablishing our community and also focused on mental health, where there will be music, food, and socially distanced outdoor games. Similar to the Be United platform, I will obviously make it a priority to engage in socialization in a safe manner while we are still figuring out the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition, in October, I will continue the TED Talk event at the WBUR location on West Campus if we can have it in person. Also, I want to partner with clubs and alumni to host several smaller events across campus, such as therapy dog events, group outdoor workout sessions, panels like we mentioned before, and networking events. And lastly, just thank you guys for having me. I'm super excited. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I'll yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the recruitment director confirmation. Ms. Chen, whenever you are ready, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Angela Chen, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I am currently a junior, double majoring in neuroscience and psychology on the pre-medical track, where in the future I hope to be a neurosurgeon or a neurobiologist. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, but I reside in Jericho, Long Island, New York. A couple things that I am currently involved in. I am the student body president of the College of Arts and Sciences as of right now, a member of the co-ed biology fraternity, Beta Psi Omega, and secretary of the Society of Women in Space Exploration. Outside of BU, I work at a mini clothing shop on Harvard campus, and I'm also a worker/volunteer at the Tufts Medical Center. Fun facts about me. I am severely allergic to at least 40 different things, and I also love running in my free time and hope to compete in the Boston, New York City, and London Marathon sometime in the future. I believe I'm the best person for the cabinet director of recruitment position based on the professional experiences I've developed in the past few years. To start off, from fall 2018 to spring 2019, I worked very closely as a staffer with the cabinet director of recruitment at the time, which was Jordan Exum. Throughout this time, I was able to learn more about what student organizations want to be student government to provide on campus or to them in terms of resources and help. In the upcoming year, I hope to do the same thing, where I, along with my staffers, will be able to learn more about how student government and student organizations can help each other out. In terms of recruitment staffers, I plan to have a wide variety of people that can represent the different parts of the BU student body, for example, one for each program/school in BU. My main focus is to bring the BU student body community together, as I strongly sense that there will be a disconnect with the transition from LFA to in-person. I understand that it might be difficult with the transition next year. However, I'm optimistic that I can help smoothen the transition along with spreading the word about our public events and fundraisers while recruiting staffers at the beginning of each semester with the help of the cabinet director of communications and my deputy. I hope to work very closely with the executive board throughout the summer to come up with a solid plan on how to recruit staffers and run Splash. As of right now, I am envisioning holding a couple of information sessions for potential staffers and working closely with the cabinet director of communications to create an informative flyer about student government. Throughout the year, I hope to maintain student government's relationship with many student organizations, from Greek life to cultural to religion, with the possibility of working closely with the cabinet director of events for possible collaboration. With that said, I hope to be as transparent as possible to ensure the best communication and bond, not only with my team, but also with the entire BU student body. It has been an honor speaking here tonight, and I cannot wait to get started, and I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, Ms. Chen. All right, now moving on to our last director of the day, social advocacy. Senator Dye, whenever you are ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vinny. Hello, y'all know me. I'm a CAS senator. I'm here every week. In terms of my past experience and why, I think I'm the best candidate for social advocacy director. I also was the comms director for our COVID-19 University Oversight Committee this year. And I was also a officer for my hometown's DSA chapter, Silicon Valley DSA, from November to March. And this year, as a lot of you know, I introduced the BU libraries and free laundry resolutions in Senate. So all of that goes to show that I have a lot of experience planning strategic campaigns, interacting with faculty and students and student groups to get everyone's opinions on what issues are most pressing at BU and to take action on those. I think a lot of college campaigns are sort of planned as they go, right? You go into one meeting and you plan what you're going to say for that meeting, then you come out of that meeting and then you plan your next step. I think for social advocacy to really get ahead of the ball and really take our campaigns to the next level, we need to start planning ahead. Another issue that I think a lot of student campaigns run into is they'll escalate against the wrong person, right? Because it's sort of hard to figure out in a college environment who the correct decision maker is for your issue that you're working on, right? And so you end up going to the wrong person, you go in circles, you get angry at the wrong people, and that damages the relationships that you have with administration. So I think my experience in terms of planning campaigns, figuring out your target, planning escalation tactics in advance in case things don't go as planned will help minimize these problems. I'm also involved with a lot of different activist groups on campus to varying extents, including BU-YDSA, CASARI, and Divest, which is why my goal as the cabinet director next year is to make this cabinet available to students. One thing that I've noticed in my conversations across all of these different groups and in every single position in student government that I've worked in is this universal pessimism among students that, student government is not helpful. Admin uses us as a front to pretend that they listen to students, et cetera, et cetera. I know everyone in Senate has heard something similar from, either the BU subreddit or people that they just talk to on campus. And I really want to change that. I want student organizations to feel that social advocacy is somewhere where they can go to get resources on how to, plan a campaign, how to make their voices heard to admin. And as, a non-elected, I don't necessarily see it as my role to pick and choose which issues social advocacy works on. I really want all of our campaigns to come from, the people that the student body has elected, you, the senators, and also the e-board, and the United platform that, the students read and voted for the e-board slate based on. And I also think another place where social advocacy can play a very important role is as sort of a go-between between Senate and e-board on social issues, right? I think we've seen in the past where Senate comes down on the side of one issue in one way and e-board comes down a different way. That's where a lot of members of the student body lose faith in student government. And so I'm hoping that next year I can help coordinate between the different branches of student government better so that this doesn't happen. So for all these reasons, I think you should vote for me for social advocacy director. And thank you so much for your time.
And thank you all for your speeches. I'll now open it up to a 10-minute Q&A session. Whoever wants to go first, raise your hand. Senator Toplinski.
I have 8 questions, so I'm going to talk a little fast. So with regards to the events chair, I don't like the events, not you, Izzy, just I have not had great relationships with the events director in the past. So I really want to talk about how you would like the events director to be. I know you mentioned mental health and a project on that. Do you actually plan to work with the mental health committee?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Something that's really important to me, especially because BU is like, our campus is huge. Everything that can exist here does exist here or will exist here, right? So there isn't even just one club about mental health. There's so many clubs. There's a student government subcommittee. So obviously, yes, I plan to consult all of those people. I plan to work with all of those people. I'm really sorry that you've had negative experiences with events so far. But yeah, I will change that. Anybody who's ever talked to me before knows that I'm very transparent. Also, as far as communication, I don't need a formal email. If you have anything, text me, add me on Snapchat, like DM me, you know, like, so as far as communication, that's something that's really important to me. So I'm hoping that, or I know I won't replicate those experiences that you've had, and I'm sorry about that.
May I continue? Sir?
Does anyone else have an additional question before I give it back to Senator Chaplinsky? Go ahead.
Thank you. My next question is still to the events director. So how do you plan to guarantee that events are consistently held and that we're actually seeing things come out of student government?
Well, as I said before, you know, everything that exists on BU campus can and will. So I feel like a way to ensure it is you definitely, first of all, you need to have a plan, right? And that comes with assembling a team of people who can work on all aspects of events. And all of those people can bring event ideas to the table. And they will be considered. So ideas are not just coming from me. Absolutely not. I wouldn't, that's unfair to expect anybody to come up with everything. So yeah, definitely just consulting everybody who's involved in events to make sure we have a plan going into the semester. We at least have, my plan is to have at least one big event per semester, and then a couple, like 2 or 3 other like medium events, and then like small events throughout, at least probably like 2 or 3 a month. So we are constantly visible on campus. People are engaging in student government. People know who we are. People know what's happening. I also want to make a social media page so people can be kept up to date directly with events. And hopefully demand from students will, you know, keep us consistent, keep us going. I'm a kind of person who always looks for feedback. I hope that answered all of your questions.
I have more. May I?
Is there any other questions? Go ahead.
Thank you. So anyone who was here when I was a freshman knows why I'm gonna ask this next question, but I just want to make sure that you're capable of creating a finance sheet when you request money that details in depth what specifically you need money for. Just a simple yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, I have another question, Vinny, Senate Chair.
Are there any additional questions? Go ahead.
This one is in regards to Vivian. Hi, Vivian. My question is in regards to the current laundry initiative, which I know you're heavily involved in. As much as there's been positive, I know that there's also been some concerns in regard to the current tone and friction that it's causing with administration. I know it is difficult firsthand to work with administration, but my question is, how do you plan to work with admin to find a compromise instead of escalating that tension on a lot of projects you plan to work on?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think definitely, you know, as I said to Hassan in my interview for this position, escalation should always be viewed as a last resort, not only because, you know, it risks sort of like future relationships that you have with admin, but also because it takes a lot of resources to even organize like something like a sit-in or, you know, God forbid, you know, a tuition strike, something like that huge, right? It takes a lot of time and energy, and you want to really like make sure that it's worth it. And so my, you know, objective is always to approach the administration diplomatically in good faith and say, you know, these are students' concerns. We have, you know, all these students, 1,000, 2,000, however many, you know, have responded to our inquiries, saying this is a concern for them. And this is the plan that we have given you in order to resolve those concerns. and if the situation, takes a turn for the worse, then I think, as I said earlier, about planning strategic campaigns, it's very important that before you even walk into like any sort of meeting with administration, you know exactly like who is the decision maker, who can make, the decision on whether or not to implement your plan, and also what tactics you have like in your toolbox, and sort of the costs and benefits of each of them. And so every single issue that social advocacy picks up next year, whether it's free laundry or not, I don't know if that's something we're going to pursue at this point. I'm going to be applying the same mindset. So I hope that answers your question.
Definitely.
Do you have another question?
Yes, but
I'm going to give it to Senator Majorowicz first.
Can I let Evan
Savannah,
finish
oh, there you go.
so it's easier? Or
But yeah, do you have just one question?
yeah, just one question.
Yeah, you go first, please, then. And then we'll go back to Evan.
A question for Angela. I was just curious, since you mentioned like you have 40 allergies, what can you eat? Like out of just curiosity. And, like can it help you out in any way? Because that sounds like a lot.
So fun fact, I did say at least 40 because my list actually gets updated every 6 months. Usually I feel like people are usually born with allergies. Like they're like, you already have that set list when you're born. But mine gets updated every 6 months. Oh my gosh. As of right now, based on what I've been experimenting, I don't react to eating brown rice and greens. And that's all I can think of right now. When it comes to like seafood, I cannot eat it without reacting really badly. As much as I love seafood, yeah, but I don't react to like brown rice or like greens like broccoli or like beans. I'm not complaining though, because healthy lifestyle. But yeah, thank you for your question.
I hope the new e-board's listening for like StuGov events and just the event department and accommodating that the allergy concerns. But thank you for answering.
Of course.
All right, back to Senator Toplinski.
I wonder how she eats every day too. I will. One more question or two more. Vivian, I know you made a comment about not picking which issues you work on, which I think is great. But that leads to my question of what happens if a project that is presented to you goes against your ideological, political values? How do you plan not to work on it?
I think it depends on what the project is. This sort of came up in my interview as well. I think all of the projects should be things that the BU like students as a body are fully behind. Because if you can't get popular support, right, then you don't have any like stake to even like confront the administration with. So I think that's going to be like my first priority in choosing a campaign. Do I think we can get popular support behind this? As far as like something conflicting with my personal ideological views, I think it would have to depend on like what exact views they conflict with, right? Like obviously, I condemn all forms of racism, homophobia, sexism, discrimination in general, and I would never, take up a project that, infringes on the rights of any group. But I understand that people can have, personal political disagreements on, small things that, don't go to that extent. And in that case, if there's, popular support behind something, I would try and find a way to work with the people who are interested in getting the initiative passed if I think it's viable and they have like a actual plan for implementing it.
All right, we got 30 seconds left. If you got one more quick question.
Super quick. To Angela. Angela, I only have one question for you because you're perfect, I know. But who got you that job at the Harvard shop? I was just wondering.
So my roommate got me that job at the Harvard shop. He was nagging me constantly about getting a job and reminding me that I'm broke. So my roommate, Evan Toplinski.
All right. Okay, I'm going to ask that you guys all keep questions relevant to the positions at hand, considering it is 9:36. If you guys want to talk about what jobs, who got who, what jobs, You save that to after the meeting. All right, I'm going to open the floor now to any points of motion since Q&A time has elapsed. Senator Casas.
Motion to move into voting procedure for the three directors.
Second.
All right, with that, the motion on the floor is to move into voting procedure, looking for a supermajority. Mr. Vice Chair, do you confirm 28?
Yep.
And I have 2 from proxy. So that puts us over supermajority. So with that, the motion passes. Everyone, I know it's getting late, but there are 39 of you who are on the record for today. So please make sure everyone is voting. This is the last meeting. Guys, the vote already happened. Please make sure you vote when I ask. We are now looking to, why is everyone raising their hands? I haven't opened the floor to anything yet. I'm going to lower everyone's hands and open the floor to any points or motions.
Oh. Can I just say it on muted? Motion to confirm 3 directors.
All right, the motion is to vote to confirm the 3 directors. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Please raise your hands. We are looking for a simple majority here. People who are proxying, please remember to message me your votes. Mr. Vice Chair, do you confirm a simple majority?
Yep.
All right, with that, we're going to vote on the 3 directors. Mr. Vice Chair, if you can send the forms in the Slack, I will send it to anyone who's having issues.
The form for events is the first one in the Slack. The form for recruitment is now in the Slack. And the form for social advocacy is now in the Slack.
All right, give it 1 minute from here. Twenty seconds. All right, with that, I'm going to close the voting forms for all 3. So go in order here. Director of Events with 34 votes in the affirmative, congratulations, you are confirmed. For recruitment, congratulations, with 34 votes in the affirmative, you are also confirmed. And with social advocacy, with 33 votes in the affirmative, congratulations, you are also confirmed. All right. We are now moving on to the Associate Justice confirmations. Question for all of you, would you raise your hands quickly in the chat? I'm putting up the offer to do all 4 at one time or to do them 2 and 2 split. I'll look for simple majority here if you guys wish to do it in all 4. If not, I will do it in 2 and 2. All right, y'all are in much favor of doing it all 4, so we're going to do this in all 4. Senator Casas, you're first.
Hi, good evening,
Alana, I do not know how to pronounce your last name, but you'll be second. Mr. Wong, you will be third, and Mr. Donahue, you will be fourth. Reminder to you all that when we vote, we will be voting. It needs a supermajority vote to confirm the justices. Senator Casas, you are first.
You got me there for a second. All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Samantha Casas. I go by she, her pronouns. Currently, I am a junior studying international relations and Spanish in the College of Arts and Sciences. I've sat in the BU student government for 3 years now, 2 years under CAS Senate and 1 year as a Unity Party senator. Outside of Senate, which I do exist in, I have been the VP of External Affairs for Alianza Latina, as well as a student employee for the Student Activities Office for 3 years now as well. I'm also an intern and grant writer for Chica Project, a local nonprofit working with participants aged 13 through 18 to help them develop leadership skills as well as policy advocacy within that group. So I will keep it brief and we can move on to the next justice.
Thank you. Alana, how do you pronounce your last name?
Kirsch, there's a fun little invisible R in there, which is really quirky of my family.
Right, well, Ms. Kirsch, the floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Alana Kirsch. I am a freshman political science major in the College of Arts and Sciences. The first organization that I became a part of at BU was the Student Election Commission on Judicial, and which I've served as a commissioner for the past year. I am also a features writer for the Daily Free Press. I've had a wonderful experience with the judicial branch, and I would also like to keep this brief looking at the time, so thank you very much.
Mr. Wong.
Yes. Hi, guys. My name is Ethan Wong. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm currently a rising senior in CAS. I major in neuroscience and minor in philosophy on the pre-law track. I am currently the president-elect for the International Affairs Association, as well as the secretary for Mix, which is our K-pop dance cover team. I had a brief stint as the director for academic affairs about 1.5 years ago. And yeah, I want to really keep this brief, but I think that the justices in the student government play a fundamentally important and unique role in our own variation of government. And I'm excited to have the opportunity to join to further improve my abilities. Thank you.
Mr. Donahue, the floor is yours.
We'll also keep mine brief, not to beat the drum. I'm Declan, he, him pronouns, and I, as you can see on the screen, major in psych philosophy and political science, plan on going to law and politics. I worked with Be United for to whatever extent they had campaign events as they ran unopposed, and it was LFA, so it was in somewhat limited capacity. And I also worked on Rules Committee shortly earlier this year. So yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, so with that, I'm going to open up to a 10-minute Q&A session. Keep all questions relevant to the positions, please. I will stop the question if it's not related to any of the Associate Justice positions. If anyone has a question, please raise your hand in the chat. Senator Majorowicz.
Yeah, so thank you all for being here tonight. I just had a question for all of you guys. So sometimes when judicial has interjected in the past in Senate matters that I've personally noticed like throughout my time in Senate, I think I and like a few other senators have felt this way, but we find that some of the statements made by some judicial commissioners have been more so from their personal opinion rather than speaking from that judicial position or with that as the focus. So I'm wondering for all of you, how will you make sure that your bias will not interfere in your position, specifically in regards to speaking on specific matters in Senate that you might have, you know, your own take on it?
Yeah, so you asked everyone, so I guess I'll answer first. I think it's part of the job, just being able to separate your own biases from the judicial opinion. I mean, I'm sure, again, you've mentioned that that doesn't always happen, but I can promise you I'm going to do my best to do that. Even my personal philosophy is toward textualism. So I like to really go to the letter of the text, and if I find issue with the text, to consult whoever can change it after the fact. But I think using textualism as a guide can help me try and pull my own biases out of it. And then also, again, sort of part of the position is doing your best. And that's what I promise to do my best on that end. And if you find that my best is inadequate, I invite you to let me know so we can keep working on that.
I'd also like to speak on this pretty briefly. There is definitely, it's sometimes difficult to separate your personal opinions from kind of the letter of the law, as it is, especially when you care a lot about a situation at hand. But that's why we have the other 4 justices, and we really work as a team. And I know we intend to really work as a team and kind of check each other in that way.
Yeah, even pushing even further off of that, I think that's why the role of having the committee to discuss all of these is really important, to keep each other's personal biases in check, but also using the Constitution and the bylaws that we have set forth as a guide for the document that we are interpreting, even if it falls outside of those for other issues. And then if a personal matter truly inhibits a justice's ability to properly dictate on an issue, then we would obviously respect the system and sit down from that meeting.
Yeah, I like to agree with my fellow free associate justices. I would like also to say that, we all have our own personal biases, and the separation that is very hard. But I think it also excites better debate when we all bring our own personal biases and our own sort of thoughts into the matter, not just with the legal pertainings and the legal decisions, but also as a whole, as a body, just being friends with each other and really talking and thinking deeply about these issues and how it affects the student body.
Thank you, Senator Dye.
Yeah, question for all of you again. Do you have an opinion on the ruling on Bill 1 from the beginning of the fall semester?
I'm sorry, just to clarify, Bill 1 is pertaining to the usage of the email. Am I correct in
Yes.
remembering that correctly? Yeah, so I would say personally for me, it has been a ruling that the justices have already ruled upon. So I would like to probably discuss, it's been ruled upon, and I don't really want to bring more differing opinions into the situation as it's already been resolved. What I will say is I think the justices thought carefully about their previous ruling, and the majority opinion should stand as it is.
Yeah, I would also defer to precedent on this issue and suggest that if a member of Senate or otherwise member of student government would like to send out a mass email to the BU student population, they can contact admin. I know SEC did that this year. I'm sure you guys all got the email about our town hall and debate stuff. So if you would like to take that avenue, there's another route.
Yeah, I would also like to ask Senator Dye if you had any specific questions pertaining to the content of the judicial opinion over bills like 001. That way we can further address it. But otherwise, I think that most of us believe that opinion should stand on precedent. However, every student has the ability to appeal of an opinion, and the justices can reevaluate. But as it stands right now, if your question is over ownership or communication, we could further answer that better as well.
Yeah, not to beat the dead horse, I agree with everyone on referring to precedent. And I completely agree with what Samantha said, is if it's appealed and there is new information, then I'd be more than open into reviewing that new information. But as with no new information, as was described earlier, the justice has made a good decision on that grounds, and I would refer to precedent.
Senator Topolsky.
Yes, my question is based on the responses that just occurred. I think my concern now is how will we ensure that there is a fruitful conversation and not just we all agree because the next person agreed with me and the previous person agreed with me.
I can speak on this really quickly. I think that this was number one, a singular issue. We haven't really made our own decisions on this. We're all just deferring to the decision of a previous justice, so it's not as much of a debate. If new evidence was brought forward regarding this topic, I'm sure we would have a fruitful and lively discussion about it. But as it stands right now, it is kind of our job to enforce the precedent and enforce the decision made by previous justices.
Yeah, I would like to speak that I kind of think the fruitful thing of us being all new justices is that we get to interpret what is both precedent and what is both new opinions that are being set forth with us, as does every current law system currently uphold as that precedent is used in current law cases in the US, not as a sense of agreeing, but as a sense of structure within the legal system. So I think that precedent isn't necessarily dangerous, it's necessary, but that doesn't mean that, new information and new opinions won't come out.
Are there any other questions before I give the floor back to Senator Dye? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering because there currently isn't any guidance on like when either a senator or an e-board member or a member of the JAC or justice should recuse themselves from a certain decision. Like I looked because I wasn't sure if I was supposed to vote for myself for advocacy director, and there's nothing there in the Senate bylaws or the judicial bylaws or the Constitution. So I was wondering under what circumstances, if any, would all of you say that you would have to recuse yourselves from a specific decision?
I can start first. Senator Dye, I think that you bring up a very fair point about when the proper time to recuse yourself is when it comes to a particular case. I think that I would encourage the Senate in future to pass legislation with regards to this. But personally, I would say that if there was like any form of personal connection with regards to how I perceive the Constitution or the bylaws of BU student government, and I provide that information to an individual, or if there was a significant conflict of interest through a personal relationship or like a prior relationship, whatever that would pertain, I would communicate that with the Chief Justice and my fellow justices and like indicate that my sort of desire to recuse myself from a situation. I think we all have a duty to maintain sort of our impartiality, and that falls upon us to make sure that we follow that as far as we can.
All right, and with that, the Q&A time has elapsed. Also, Senator Dye, just kind of on your point, just to highlight for everyone here, per Robert's rules, you are allowed to vote for yourself. It can possibly look improper, but it is entirely permissible under Robert's rules and just the way we do procedures. You are a senator, you have the power to vote for yourself for a cabinet position. It's just like probably voting for yourself for committee chair as well. All right, so with that, I'm going to open the floor to any points or motions. Senator Faruqi.
I move to enter voting procedure on the judicial nominees.
Second.
All right, looking for supermajority here. Raise your hands in the chat if you wish to vote in the affirmative. Mr. Vice Chair, do you confirm 28?
Yes, I do.
All right, so with that, I got 2 proxies. The motion passes. We'll lower everyone's hands. And again, open the floor to any points or motions. Senator Faruqi.
I move to vote on the judicial.
Motion to vote.
Second?
Yeah, that was a motion to vote. All right,
Yes,
raise your hands in the chat. Looking for simple majority here. Mr. Vice Chair, do you confirm a simple majority?
Yes, I do.
All right, with that, we're going to now vote, or well, you guys are going to vote on the candidates. Lower everyone's hands. Mr. Vice Chair, if you can please send out the voting forms, I will send it to people who don't have access to Slack. And then proxies, please make sure you send me your vote.
Actually, I'll private messages.
Point of personal privilege, the second link in this Slack, I think might be a repeat link or it's just not working for me.
Okay, one sec. My computer has decided to give up.
Sure,
you
which
said the
ones did you
second one?
put in? Oh. Yeah, I believe she said second one, Shashi.
Okay, I just resent the second link. Is it still not working? Can somebody?
It's working.
Okay. Vinny, if you can just check the permission on the forms, I think that might have been one of the issues. Never mind.
Sorry, Shashi. I don't know if you're sending it out soon, but I think we're missing Ethan's.
I will resend it. It just probably didn't send on my end. I just sent the one for Ethan. Let me know if it doesn't work. I see people are responding this. So I think it might be.
Can I also make sure to get the second proxy vote, please? I believe I only have one of them right now. Or the one who's proxying for another senator. All right, with that, I'm going to close all the voting forms. All right, so for Alana Kirsch, with 29 votes in the affirmative, congratulations, you are confirmed. For Ethan Wong, with 27 votes in the affirmative, congratulations, you are confirmed. For Declan Donahue, congratulations, with 28 votes in the affirmative, you are confirmed. And for Samantha Casas, with 33 votes in the affirmative, congratulations, you are confirmed. Congratulations to you all. Sammy, I'm sorry for the heart attack right there. I see your face. All right, moving on to Senate Resolution 20. Wait, almost there, guys. Whenever you are ready, Hassan, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next slide, please. So right now, we all, as BU students, get a whole host of Google Workspace services, right? These are the ones you know and love: Gmail, Google Drive, Google Forms, etc. And BU uses a whole lot of storage on all these services, because we're not just using this for students, we're also using it for faculty and staff, alumni, retirees, researchers, guests, and casual employees. Now, I'm not really sure what a casual employee is. I can only imagine it's someone who wears flip-flops to work every day, but nonetheless, they do get Google Workspaces. And all of this is free of charge except for last month, when Google decided that it was going to move towards a storage-based pricing model. And so given that BU uses 6.5 petabytes of data, that would lead to an unbudgeted expense every single year for BU of, next slide please, nearly $1 million. And understand, this is just a baseline, because as BU grows, this is only going to get higher. And so there's never one reason alone why tuition and fees increase for students. It's usually a combination of factors. But I have been told by administration that this unbudgeted expense will be a contributing factor in future rises in tuition and fees. Next slide, please. And so we really have two options, right? We either stick with Google, see an increase in tuition and fees, and we have to cut down on our data use, or we switch to a competitor like Microsoft or Dropbox, and then we have this whole hassle of having to migrate data. We may still have to pay for those services, and some data like Gmail and Google Forms isn't going to get migrated, so it's going to be lost. Not to mention you have to learn a whole new interface. And as we've seen over the past year, learning new technology isn't the strong suit of all of our faculty. So this is going to be a big hassle. And those are our two options. So that's why I'm really glad that BU is trying to create a third option. Next slide, please. And that is partnering with colleges and universities, public and private, all across the country to push back on Google's price gouging of college students. And so that's where we come in. Next slide, please. Because by passing this resolution, it'll be given directly to the Vice President of Information Services and Technology, Tracy Schroeder, with whom I've been coordinating closely throughout this process, who can then use this as a part of the negotiations with Google to show that not only is this a bad idea for administrators, it's also bad for the students who actually have to pay the cost. And this isn't just about Google. Understand that we've seen the cost of higher education go up and up and up year after year, decade after decade. And part of the problem is because we have for-profit corporations like Google, who made $182 billion in profits just last year, who look at that $182 billion and say, gee, that's just not enough. We should really squeeze even more money out of the college students who are already struggling financially. That is what we can stand against with this resolution, to show a united front with our administration and with students and administrators all across the country. And that's why we ask for your vote. And so I would love at this time to take any of your questions. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, Senator Faruqi. Senator Zaplensky, you're up first.
I'm a little confused and I have a question. You made a comment that it's because of these big corporations that are causing the prices of tuition to go up, but BU is a big corporation when we get down to it. So I guess my confusion is, great, we passed this. We show Google that we're not going to deal with it, with what they want to do. What stops BU from just raising the tuition still? So I think my question is, along with that, would you be amendable to including something in this resolution that said BU will not raise the tuition regardless of what the decision is?
No, I think it's a huge problem. And it's the Google issue is a symptom of a larger issue, which is the ballooning of higher education costs. So you're right that this alone will not prevent future rises in tuition and fees. I'd be more than happy, I think, to do a separate resolution. If you put too much in this resolution, then I think it won't be as clear in the negotiations between administration and Google what the purpose is. And I think the message might be muddled. So I'm with you, though. This is ridiculous how much money we pay.
Any additional questions? Senator Evans.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if this is just like a statement of endorsement that you're asking for, or is there any other like actionable items that you would want us as senators to take upon this passing?
Yeah, so this is a statement of endorsement. The actionable items will be taken up by administration. They're already engaged in the negotiation. So this is just them seeing that the voice of the student body supports this.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Isn't this technically a statement of condemnation, not endorsement?
It is, yeah. We're endorsing the statement of condemnation.
Okay, got it. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. All right, with that, I'm going to elapse Q&A time and open the floor to any points or motions. Senator Kaplinsky.
Motion to move into a 5-minute discussion with 30-second speaking times.
Senator Evans.
Motion to vote on Google Workspace Senate resolution.
Second.
All right, I'm just gonna, that's a motion to go into voting procedure. Looking for, that was seconded, looking for supermajority vote in the chat. People who are proxying, please message me whether or not you are voting in the affirmative or not. Vice Chair, do you confirm 27?
I was muted. I confirm 27. Or
All right,
with now.
Yeah, with that, that's a supermajority. Motion passes. We are now in voting procedure. I will lower everyone's hands and again open the floor to any points or motions. Senator Casas.
Motion to vote on the endorsement of the condemnation. I can't, yeah, that sentence.
Yeah, what Senator Casas said.
Second.
Wait, yeah, we need a second first. Thank you. Looking for a simple majority here. Please raise your hands in the chat. Mr. Vice Chair, do you have a simple majority?
Yep.
All right, with that, the motion passes. Mr. Vice Chair, if you can please put the voting form in the Slack. I will send it to anyone who needs it on the, or who doesn't have access to it.
It's in the Slack.
I'll give it 1 minute from here, maybe less. 10 seconds. All right, and with that, I'm going to close the voting form. And with 33 votes in the affirmative, congratulations. The endorsement of the statement of condemnation passes. Moving on to Senate Resolution 21, Mr. Vice Chair, the floor is yours.
Cool. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay. Vinny, if you could go to the next slide. Thank you. And one more. So if in the email, you guys all should have gotten a PDF that was a 15-page document, which is a fairly comprehensive resource guide for where students can go to register for the vaccine across all 50 states and US territories. Why did I put this together? Well, on April 9th, everybody got an email from President Brown announcing that all students enrolled in classes on campus in the fall are required to have the COVID-19 vaccine, which means that students are going to need to go home, and a lot of them to their home states, at least the students living within the continental United States or the US territories, and they need to get the COVID vaccine over the summer because the vaccine eligibility didn't drop to the majority of college students until, at least in Massachusetts, last week. Problem is, each state has a different system. It's a mess, and it is difficult for, even if you're living within that state, to sort of figure out where you actually need to go to register for the vaccine. And there is no central resource guide that I have come across that NEB students can actually follow. The university hasn't put one out. I don't know if they're planning on putting one out. I've had meetings with some administrators on this, and it's been mentioned and no follow-up has really happened about it. And so students really need a guide to actually figure out how the heck they're going to get this vaccine when they're home over the summer. And so if you can go to the next slide. The proposal there's a resolution, Senate Resolution 21, if you've read that, is to move forward with this resource guide and put it out as student government for students. We as the Senate represent the student body. We are their representatives here, and eBoard was elected by students all across the campus, and we have a duty to them to help out in any way possible. And in this situation, that's making sure that they have the resources to sign up and figure out where they should actually go and get the vaccine. The resource guide itself has been put together using information from the CDC, US State Department of Health, US Territory Department of Health, and County Department of Health. That's a tongue twister. And all of that information is cited and hyperlinked within the packet. If you go down to the sections for the US states and territories, you can see that there are hyperlinks that you can click, and it takes you directly to the website where you actually can register to get the vaccine. And it contains a bit of information about what that process is like. The goal is to have this guide be released to all BU students by the student government over the next few weeks. So as they travel home, they can sign up to get this vaccine. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So the next steps would be for student government to put forward this guide as a student government guide. It needs to get endorsement from the Senate and approval from the Senate to use the entire student government name. So that's what this resolution, Senate Resolution 21, would do. Then obviously eBoard would need to also approve it to be put forward as the student government COVID-19 vaccine resource guide, which is a mouthful. And then after all of those steps, which I hope we can, the first one get done tonight, the next one over the next day or so, work to finalize the guide, which if you go to the next slide, the plan for that is reach out to Dr. Platt to verify all of the information. Like I said, all of the information is directly from the CDC or Department of Health. It's all cited in it, but nonetheless, want to double check everything, make sure that all of the information is up to date, and also update the information for guidance for international students in there as well. Then finalize the guide. I've already reached out to Ting with the communications department, and we've been talking about it. The next step would be to add some infographics, so it's not just 15 or however long pages of text. After that, meet with university administration to work with them to be like, hey, we've put together this guide, and if you want to help get it to all the students, then we'd be more than happy to work with you and disperse this to as many students as possible, because this is a really important thing going into next semester, given that the vaccination is a critical part of the safety plan for next fall. After that, launch the guide as soon as possible, hopefully by the end of next week or the week after that. And again, work with administration to get the guide to students as soon as possible if they do want to work with us. So next slide. With all that said and done, I know it's late, so I won't keep on talking more. Any questions, comments, or concerns? I yield my time back to the chair.
Thank you. So any questions? Senator Toplinski.
I'll phrase this as a question, but I know you said concerns. On page 7, there's a comment that says the easiest place to start looking for to get a vaccine is Google. I would really like if that could change. I don't think we should be suggesting to people to Google. They should be talking to doctors, talking to their government websites. So my question is, would we be able to talk to or have a contingent that Dr. Platt really goes deep dive into this, or any doctor goes deep dive into this, to get those critical informations and questions, not just students doing all of the work?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly the reason I want to reach out to Dr. Platt. And again, like all of the language in there, I'd love to, I've shown it to communications and it's been an ongoing thing. And if this resolution gets passed, then I'll continue to work with people and we'll put together a group of people to go through and really comb through it. There is a disclaimer on page 3 or 2, I don't remember, clearly stating that this is not a medical guide and people should first talk to their primary care provider. And if they don't have a primary care provider, reach out to SHS. But yes, I agree. That language can and probably should be changed.
Senator Majorowicz.
This is really amazing. Like, I love all the information, and the fact that you took this into your own hands is really admirable. I do have 2 questions. The first is, have you consulted or like sent out any questionnaires to international students about common questions they have just beyond the ones that are listed on the document? And then also, if you're unable to get a reply from Dr. Platt in a timely manner, what's kind of your next step in terms of releasing the doc and moving forward?
So in terms of the international students, no, I haven't, quite honestly. This took about, I started putting this thing together, I think last Tuesday, or I don't exactly remember. And going through all 50 states and US territories took a lot of time. So I haven't been able to reach out, but I think that that's something that should be integrated, and I'll take a note of that and reach out to the international, try to reach out to international students and get what their concerns are. And also get as much updated information from SHS and administration about what they've heard, because they're in more direct talks with consulates and so on. As for, if I can't directly get in touch with Dr. Platt myself through like the SG sent email or stuff like that, I'm gonna concurrently be reaching out to Dean B if this is passed today and asking him to set up the meeting, and he's always been able to set up a meeting on a dime when I've reached out to him. And I'll also reach out to Dean Elmore as well and ask him like in the same email to get this meeting set up in the next week and a half.
Senator Dye.
Looking through it, I don't see any information with regards to people who might be immunocompromised or can't be vaccinated for some other reason. Has the administration provided clarity on what to do if you are one of these people, or have they just not?
Again, this is why the medical questions and some of the medical details. I am not a medical professional. I don't want to comment on medical questions here either. Which is why I want to reach out to SHS, and I'll take that question specifically to them when I reach out and ask about that sort of stuff, to make sure that that information is in there. And again, just for the time being, that's why I included the disclaimer at the top as well. But yeah, I will reach out and see whatever information that SHS and administration has in terms of actual medical information that they can sign off on will be included in this.
Senator Evans.
Yeah, I just so as far as like next steps, if this would pass, where would this information go up, and like how would students have access to it?
So as of right now, through every possible venue that the communications department has, if it gets passed, I also want to reach out to all of the college governments and ask them to spread it through all of the venues that they have. And beyond that, the Dean of Students office, and on the administration side, the Dean of Students office, and hopefully discussing with President Brown if this is something that the university as a whole, if they go through their, it's verified with Dr. Platt and so on and so forth, if the university as a whole could be sent this email through, I don't know whose office it would go through, but yeah.
Then I have a follow-up question. So when a year ago, when this all started, and we made the COVID-19 like website for BU that had like all the information about like what COVID was and testing and like how to get tested and all that. Do you know off the top of your head if BU is planning to do the same thing with vaccines on that same website?
I don't, which is why I wanted to make this. Like I said, I've been in two different meetings over the past like 3.5 weeks about COVID stuff with administration going forward for the fall semester. And it had been mentioned and nobody followed up on it. So I don't know if they're planning on it. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but to the best of my knowledge, I haven't seen anything.
Okay, gotcha. I think I was asking these questions just because I'm a little bit concerned about like us publishing this and then it being dated in like 6 months or whatever, like when we actually have to go back, and then also like just the circulation of information. I'm dumping a problem into your lap that I know you can't solve, so I apologize in advance, but I think it's more just for the room. I really think BU should have this on the same website where we find all of our other like COVID related information. I want to somehow include in here like for BU to be in charge of this instead of us as student government to be in charge of this. Like Vivian's question too, like there's just so many other things that are like out of our scope, our job descriptions really as like senators. So that's like, it's not related to the proposal. I love the proposal. But I also just like, I want to push us to like also hold administration accountable for like providing all this information and keeping it relevant and timely and all that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, which is why I think it's really important to not just go straight to, all right, we approved it and therefore we're going to put it out there, but to have all those steps in between, especially even after the semester is over, but while the semester is still going on for the next 2 weeks, to meet with administration. And I mean, not just like, hey, we worked on this and we're going to ignore the fact that you didn't give us any resources. I think that should also be a conversation that comes up as well. But in terms of updating it, I want to get it on that Healthway site, or at least if that's something that administration wants to, if they want to have students have these resources, then they can put this on the site. And if it's there, then it could be constantly updated, and that way it has the most up-to-date information and students have access to that most up-to-date information.
Senator Casas.
Yeah, I was trying to put into words what Shayna said, and she said it a lot better than I did. So I'll say how it came out in my brain. A grown person who gets like adult money should be responsible for this. Like, I think it's absolutely amazing and wonderful and admirable that you put forth this. But I think that beyond Dr. Platt, there should be like an SHS, Healthway, BU administration who should be responsible for updating this beyond you. And I think that should be in your, continuation plan, that this shouldn't be something that lives and breathes as your or Senate's responsibility, because like you said, we aren't medical professionals, nor CDC professionals, nor governmental officials. And I think that there is somebody who gets paid grown people money who should, that this should be the responsibility.
I couldn't agree more. I just got tired of waiting around to have them get the ball rolling.
I mean, I agree with that too. Hopefully this will be the kick in the tush for them.
All right, with that, Q&A time has elapsed. I will open the floor to any points or motions. Senator Faruqi.
I move to enter voting procedure on the resolution.
Second.
All right, looking for a supermajority here. Everyone, please raise your hands in the chat if you're wishing to vote in the affirmative. With that, since Shashi is presenting, I'm going to confirm to myself that I have 27 plus 28 from a proxy. So with that, the motion passes. It's supermajority. We are in voting procedure. I will lower everyone's hands. Senator Faruqi.
I move to vote on the resolution.
Second.
All right, with that, looking for a simple majority here. Everyone who's wishing to vote in the affirmative, please raise your hands in the chat. I will send the link into the Slack. If passed, of course, which it did with a simple majority. Link is now in the Slack. For the sake of time, y'all got like 45 seconds. Fifteen seconds. All right, with that, I'm going to close the voting form. And with 28 votes in the affirmative, congratulations, the resolution passes. Moving right along, Day of Civic Service update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next slide, please. So back in the fall, we came to you with a resolution to make, among other things, Election Day a university holiday. I co-sponsored a letter. Many of you were supportive of this effort, as were a whole bunch of folks who signed a petition. Next slide, please. Within days of signing of the petition launching, BU made Election Day a holiday for staff, which was a great step in the right direction, but not for students. Next slide, please. So we passed a resolution unanimously. And next slide, please. I think it got a good amount of press coverage for a resolution, including in the Boston Globe, the real one. And next slide, please. The resolution really had 5 main pieces. So we're really pleased to report to you that just 5 months in, next slide, please, nearly all of those objectives have been accomplished. So first and foremost, the holiday is being considered currently by the Office of the Provost. I haven't heard anything negative, so that's a good thing. The attendance optionality measure, which we passed as a short-term solution for the fall 2020 election, was supported by the deans of colleges representing the majority of students, which are CAS, CGS, and the College of Engineering, which was fantastic to see administrators supporting this effort. We also push administration to support our data gathering effort, which is being run by Tufts University. They did collect data about the 2020 election and send it out in a report in the BU Votes Planning Committee. I've seen the report. It's for some reason classified. I still can't figure out why. There was nothing controversial in it, so I'm working on getting it declassified. I'll obviously let you know when we have that. We also pushed the Dean of Students Office to convene a campus-wide working group, which is representative of every school, college, and department at BU to work on not just voter registration, but also civic engagement generally. And that is the BU Votes Council. We also got a student government representative. This is a permanent seat on the council, and this is someone who's going to interface directly with the Department of City Affairs, which has already been working on this issue. And finally, thanks to both BU and CAS student governments, we got great publicity for this through the different communications channels that we had. And so next slide, please. That's a brief overview of the resolution. We are incredibly pleased with the progress, and of course, we'll continue working on this. I'm incredibly grateful for all the folks in the advocacy committee, on the CAS e-board, particularly Angela and Evan, President Oliver Poor, all of the folks who helped with this. This couldn't have been possible without you. So now, for one final time as a senator, I would be more than happy to take your questions.
Yeah, me in the feels there. All right. Last 10-minute Q&A. If anyone has any questions. Going once. Going twice. All right. Thank you, Senator Faruqi, for that update, and thank you everyone who's working on this for giving us the update and for your hard work. MHC trigger content warning on syllabi initiative update.
Okay.
Senator Horowitz, I believe you're taking point whenever you're ready.
Hi everyone. I will try to be as concise as possible to be respectful of the time, but essentially we want professors who teach on graphic content to implement the following: a general statement at the top of their syllabus, just generally talking and prefacing that this classroom is a safe and comfortable space, and that they will give a content or trigger warning on assignments that deal with specific material that is deemed as graphic. And then we also would love for professors to include alternate assignments in this. Part of the goal, as one of our MHC members will explain later on in this presentation, is that we want to be respectful of students' mental health and possibly any triggers they might have on graphic content. And so it is really possible to offer alternate assignments because we don't want professors to re-traumatize students. We would also appreciate if professors could preface the class specifically dealing with the graphic content with an email just reminding students about the material, the option for an alternate assignment, and again, prefacing that this classroom is a safe space for academic exploration, and really just an opportunity to be respectful for the students' mental health. And then, of course, issuing that verbal trigger content warning at the beginning of the class that is specific to the content of the graphic content. I do want to just provide some more context about this initiative. It was actually one of the demands, or part of the demands, from the BU Has a Problem protest that happened earlier this semester, and to just ensure that progress was moving forward along the conversations with the provost, MHC decided to just kind of spearhead this demand and this initiative, of course, with the support from the other groups heading the protest movement. And we've really communicated a lot with CAS student government, 16,000 strong, campus survivors, It's on Us, BIPOC Mental Health Committee, and Q, really just to get their feedback. We also got approval and support from Kasari as well. And really, we're just hoping that with this initiative, it will make the classroom a better place. And I think if you could go to the next slide, please. I'll throw it over to Jess now.
Hello. So it's no secret that triggering topics can cause an extreme amount of stress and an emotional toll on learners. And we really see this as a need for BU, because not all course content that is potentially triggering has a warning. Typically, it's up to the professor if they want to provide like a preface comment and email before class, even if it's just at the beginning of a lecture, just a heads up to students. And we realize that not all courses that have potentially triggering content are labeled as such. So you might have a course, for example, like a film class, where you're at the end of the semester, it's too late to drop the course, and suddenly there's like a video playing that might bring you back to a really uncomfortable moment in your past that you can't separate yourself from. And we want students to be aware of this at the beginning of the semester, so that one, they know that there's a safe space for them, but two, they can also take any precautionary measures such as maybe dropping the course or finding an alternate path with the professor. That way, in case they're in a situation where they feel it's unsafe for them to return to the class, they have another option instead of being trapped where they know they can't be. We want to be able to ensure comfort for students at the university because everybody has a right to a safe environment to learn in and to carry their education. And BU has an incredible diversity of students here. There are people from all different backgrounds. And this allows all of those students to know that their professors are there to support them and to know that when they are walking into a lecture hall or walking into a discussion classroom, that they are in a safe space for themselves and that they are free to express their opinions and also to freely be in that space without having to be worried about being triggered back to past trauma. And this provides everybody with an equal chance of success. Everyone is able to perform their best in the classroom. They know what to expect. They know that their professor is going to be there for them should anything come up. And students are able to know within the first few weeks, as I mentioned, if they are going to be in an environment that is suitable for themselves. And if they are not, they have the opportunity to switch out without facing a W or an I. And they are also able to take the proper measures on the day of the class to prepare themselves either by asking for an alternate assignment or for taking a break from the lecture that day to prevent themselves from being triggered in any sort of fashion. And if we could go to the next slide, please. We are really looking for any input that you guys have now. We are looking forward to getting this initiative launched and a petition launched. But in the meantime, we would really like to have any of your help, any of your advice. We are looking for any places that we could improve, any questions, comments, or concerns. We would love to hear from you, and we will yield our time back for that.
All right, I'll open it up to 10 minutes if anyone has any comments that they wish to bring forward. Senator Casas.
This is just a tip of someone who also is working on legislation within the classroom. There is something that you have to be privy of, which is the American Association of University Professors academic freedom policies, which many professors use as a way to dictate what they can and cannot teach in the classroom. Looking at those guidelines and specifying how you are not violating professors' academic freedom is really important when you move forward in certain aspects of dictating classroom material. We've had pushback from professors along that route. And so it's really, really important to look at it. And if anybody wants resources on it, I can send that forth as well.
Sammy, that would be great if you could share those resources if you have them, if you could just email or text them to me.
Any additional points that people wish to bring forward? Going once, going twice. All right, with that, I'm going to elapse discussion time. Thank you both for presenting. Now it's my turn. Excuse me for my language. I've been dreading this moment all night. This over here. All right, can everyone hear me? All right, so I just want to give some closing remarks. As many of you know, this is my last Senate meeting. This is my last year as a student, so here we go. Well, everyone, we made it. We're finally here. Last Senate meeting, the semester, last Senate meeting ever for me. It's kind of surreal right now. When I think back to my first Senate meeting in October 2017 and compare that to what Senate is now, it's almost like we are two different organizations. The amount of growth, change, maturity that both Senate and all of student government have gone through over the last 4 years is absolutely insane, and that is in a huge part thanks to everyone here. All of you stepped up to the plate, facing every change and challenge head on and rocked it, especially this year. We've had over 25 different bills and resolutions come through Senate over the last school year, all written informally for people to easily track and review. That's never been done before on such a wide scale, and you have all helped place the key building blocks to what could eventually become a BU Student Government Code of Law, which in my opinion is a document that is essential for our continued growth. You all did that. You all listened to my crazy requests and followed it and did it amazingly. Our reach to students has improved as well, a feat that is very hard to accomplish given the circumstances. I reviewed the last 28 days of analytics provided by YouTube from our streams, and I wanted to share with you all highlights, 2 of them in particular. First, in the last 28 days, we've had 108 views on all of our streams, which is 108 more students who get to watch a Senate meeting more than any year prior. Hell, we've never had more than 100 students attend a Senate meeting, nor have we really had 100 students see the Senate throughout 1 year. Also, over this 28-day period, we've had 12.6 hours of footage viewed by people. So what we're doing is getting out to people and people are seeing it. And it is kind of crazy and a huge step for us to build off of as we get ready for the next year. None of this could have been done without you guys, and I thank each and every single one of you for your part in helping bring about all that we have in such a short time frame, especially my senators and members of the legislative branch. I love you all, and it has been an absolute pleasure to lead you all this year. Ooh. I'd also like to give a shout out to my fellow branch leaders. Thank you all for your support, ideas, and motivation to keep moving forward throughout this year. We've had a rough hand dealt to us, but I'd say we did a damn good job of running this show. Also, to everyone who's mentored me and taught me how to succeed in helping students and in this organization, thank you. Your embracing of a random freshman from Sargent meant more than you could ever know to me, and thank you for setting me down the path that led me to where I am now. I'd also like to thank specifically, and this should come as no surprise to any of you, our future Senate Chair, Mr. Vice Chair himself, Shashi Shah. Shashi has come in with barely any experience with our student government, but leaves as the best vice chair that we have ever had. And I say that with 100% confidence. Shashi redefined the role and position of vice chair, setting a standard that will be hard to surpass. Thank you, man, for dealing with all the random texts, emails, for spending a part of every Saturday helping to build the agenda, for your advice, your counsel, and for your determination and initiative to make this place better than it was before. I leave the Senate in very well-equipped hands. And now, my chapter of the last 4 years with Senate and student government comes to a close. I love this organization, the people in it, and you have all given me so much more than I could ever give back. Thank you for that. To my fellow seniors, I wish you all the best in whatever future endeavors come your way, and I hope that you carry Senate and student government with you in some way. To everyone who isn't graduating, I wish you all the best as well, and all I ask from you guys is keep fighting to improve the lives of students, whether in student government, another club, or wherever you may go. Continue the fight and don't ever stop. Thank you all for everything. And with that, for one last time,
Shout
we'll
out
open
to
it up to
Vinny.
open
Thank
forum.
you, Vinny. Thank you, Vinny. What a beast.
Thank you, Vinny.
Thank you, Vinny.
Thank you, Vinny. You're the best.
Thank you.
I second that.
Thank you guys. God, you don't know how much this position, this stuff has meant to me. So thank you all for just giving me the opportunity to be here. All right, Senator Everson, I see your hands raised first.
I would like to make a point that just because we're thanking Vinny, we shouldn't forget Robert's rules. If you want to speak during a Senate meeting, please raise your hand and wait to be called upon by the Senate chair. Thank you, everybody.
Senator Saplinski.
I'm so glad I raised my hand now. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Wait,
I love
before
you,
we
son.
adjourn.
Yeah.
This is the last Senate meeting. I know Shashi asked for final point because he can't raise his hand. Because he's a co-host, he's not allowed to raise his hand. So, Shashi,
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Vinny, and kind of bittersweet, but also wanted to let everybody here know that if anybody wants to, I'm going to be working on stuff for Senate for next year, starting maybe not tomorrow, I have an exam tomorrow, but the day after that, because there are still issues that students are facing and our work doesn't stop. And on that note, if anybody has ideas, even if you're not going to be a senator next year, feedback on this year, suggestions for change, stuff you've seen. I know I've talked with a few of you already, but y'all have my Slack, y'all have my phone number. Feel free to reach out. I'd love to get input from anyone and get ready for next year. And that was my only thing.
Senator Massini.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
No! Ugh, you stole it.
I'm sorry. It's not my fault.
Okay, but it's like the first time it was brought up to the table.
This is
All
our
right.
last one.
This is
Yeah.
our last one.
It's the last one, guys. Hopefully the last one on Zoom University.
Yeah, thank God.
All right, Mr. Vice Chair, do you confirm a supermajority?
It is with outstanding happiness that I can confirm the supermajority.
With that, we are adjourned. Thank you all so much for everything. Have a great night. Good luck on finals. And I wish you guys all the best. Thank you for an amazing year.